Happy New Year and welcome to the first GMBN Tech Show of 2022. As you can see, yes, I'm still here at home. I think we'll go back to work tomorrow. I had a nice long break, bit of riding, a lot of festivities and stuff. But in today's show, we're going to be looking at the year ahead. What can we be expecting in the world of mountain bike tech? What bikes might we see arrive on the horizon? What shows are going to be worth going to, or the ones that we're going to go to harvest all of that great tech to show you? Some shows that we really want to go to, some events we want to go to, and all that cool stuff coming up. So how was everyone's New Year and Christmas break? Hopefully you all managed to get some saddle time and some quality time with the families. I had a great time over the festive period. It was really nice to catch up with everyone. Actually, a lot of friends I hadn't seen for a while as well, which was also good. But I've got to say, last year was a real struggle for me in terms of getting enough saddle time. As you know, got a, well, he was 16-month-old at the end of the year, boy Dustin, and my time's been dedicated to him, as it should be. So I've just found it hard slotting in riding in as much as I would like to. So I think I just want to change things up this year. It might involve more night riding, it might involve more early starts, but the point is I want to get fitter and stronger and just spend more time doing the thing that I really love doing in my pastime. So with that in mind, I probably want to start looking at doing some events, or perhaps trying to put some bikepacking things in the calendar, just some stuff that I just haven't done for a few years. And I'm feeling really positive because I think 2022 is going to be a very good year for mountain bike tech, and even better year for GMBN Tech. There's some really cool stuff coming up, and well, let's get cracking on the show. It's a new year, which means new content, and we want your help because you watch our content, you give us the support we need to make the videos to hopefully entertain you and give you some knowledge and some help and some insight. So what would you like to see us do? Other than what we've already been doing, are there any special projects you'd like us to make? Are there things you think I should be doing on the channel, or you'd like to see other presenters coming over onto GMBN Tech and doing some stuff? You know, we've obviously got GMBN and we've got EMBN running alongside us here on the off-road channels at PlaySport. So pretty much within reason, I'm up for anything. So let us know if you've got any great ideas. Would you like us to do any sort of competition based stuff, as in like going to events and taking part? Would you like us to go to some specific shows? I'm going to give you a list of ones that are already on our radar for the year, but that's not to suggest we can't send someone else to go to stuff. Obviously there's a lot of us to try and manage a lot of videos throughout the year, but we're keen to try and make content and some alternative content that might be what you're looking for. So please do let us know down there if there's stuff, you know, if we got like if you've got an itch we can scratch for you, let us know in those comments and we'll try and do something about it. Please do get involved. Right, so moving forward for the year, there is a lot of good stuff going on, and actually I feel like probably less so the last 2 years, but towards the end of last year, I feel like the bike industry was just like sat on a drag strip warming up his tyres, just really ready to bury that right foot and just crack on. And obviously there have been loads of issues, but there's been lots of things hovering. We've seen some clues as to where technology might go in 2022. And also we've seen some bikes coming out, and it's made us wonder, like, you know, what else is coming from that brand? Now I'm sure there's a whole bunch of these you might have speculated on, so please do join in as I'm going through these underneath. So first up, let's look at some bikes that we think might be coming up this year. Now I've got to say, top of my list of bikes I'm most excited to see would be the new Scott Gambler. Now it's a logical move to bring out a Gambler with a hidden shock, given the partnership between Bold Cycles and Scott, given what they already have. They've brought out the Spark, which is just a beautiful bike, and I said this last year, that it's probably my favourite looking bike, maybe even of all time. I just think it's such a gorgeous shape with a hidden shock, so beautiful. Yeah, I know the hidden shock's not for everyone, however you can't deny that it makes for a beautiful looking bike, and it really does suit that. But it really surprised me when the Bold Lincoln came out. Bold releasing under their own name again, but looking at that bike and the form factor, it's like you can kind of see where Scott might want to go next. So I predict that there might be a Gambler coming that's going to take a lot of form and function from the design of the hidden shocks. But what I want to see on that bike, as well as all of the adjustability they have on the other models, is to house a proper size shock on there, a shock with a piggyback, or even a Cora shock if that bike demanded it. Now I'd love to see that, because I reckon that could be one of the best bikes already of 2022. What do you reckon? Do you reckon there's a new Gambler on the way? Now also, just before Christmas, we announced that Canyon Torque that came out that looked very similar to the Strive that I ride. It made me think, you know, when that Torque came out, where's the Strive? what's going on? So the Strive, I mean, let's face it, it's a bit outdated compared to some other models in the range now. It's a 170mm travel bike. So is the Torque they've just brought out. And in fact, Jack Moyer posted this on his Instagram page saying, should I race it? So it says to me that that could well be a race bike, but it's a big travel monster. Like, it's 170mm travel, no more travel than the existing Strive, but it's a different style of bike. So could they be bringing out a lighter model than the Torque, maybe a CFR model, which could be a race bike? Or is there a Strive on the way? And if so, what's it going to look like? Because the Strive, as we know it, has had the shapeshifter on there, so it can change the geometry as you ride. Would something like the Torque benefit from that, or would it just stick to more radical geometry? Interesting stuff. What do you reckon? The Strive coming, or the Strive being pushed aside to make room for that Torque as the 170 model? Either way, pretty excited. The Torque looks like a great bike. Too much for me. I'll stick with the Spectral, thank you, but it looks unreal. It's such a good bike. And finally, another prediction, Trek Slash High Pivot. Now, we've seen it with the Session, the bike, every bike looked like a Session for a while. The Session has now progressed through to being a high pivot design, although quite low in terms of how high the pivot is, so they've probably optimised it around the way that they want the bike to ride. But are we going to see this on the Slash? I reckon we could, you know, I reckon that'd be a really fitting bike to use that same platform. And Trek seem to be masters of doing this between their bike models. So will we see high pivot Slash? Me thinks maybe. Now tech, I'm sure we're going to see some more intelligent suspension coming out on the market. We've seen a flight attendant from SRAM, which I know a lot of you are like, do you need it? Or others saying, wow, it looks amazing. But the fact is, it's great tech, it's just not for everyone. And that's okay, you've got to have choice. The same was to be said with the Fox Live valve system. Some people are like, I don't want batteries for my gears and all the other stuff. And other people are like, if that can help me go faster, I'm in, I'm sold. But what about brands that can offer more at slightly different price points? Maybe that's where Suntalk could go, that both the other two brands haven't done. Obviously we saw that on Tom Pidcock's bike. I reported on that just before Christmas, as well as from Eurobike, and I reckon it could be really good. Suntalk have been chipping away, making excellent products that are just not getting the daylight because of the fact they're just not one of the bigger brands out there. But they make really good stuff, like better than many of you might think. And next, Shimano Di2 what would it be? It's been a while now. I think 2014 was probably when they brought it out. 11 speed. Where's the new one? We're seeing it in the road world. You know, if not this year, the year after, perhaps. I don't know. It's got to be coming. We're going to see some prototypes. I'm sure of it. But will it still be wired? I'm wondering if it might be like part wireless, perhaps having a wireless shifter and then just having a battery housed inside the frame somehow, perhaps, I don't know, in the crank or whatever, to power that rear derailleur, because the way they made the rear derailleur before, I can't imagine that they would adapt it and make it different looking, like the SRAM style system. What do you reckon? Do you reckon we might see XTR Di2 or Di4 coming out soon? I'm not so sure about soon, because Shimano are typically late to the party with this sort of stuff, but they always turn up with a massive keg, don't they, just to make sure they've done it properly. And I really like that approach. You know, they keep us waiting, but come on, it's got to be about right now, surely. And what we're going to see in the way of gearboxes. Now, we made some videos before Christmas, towards the end of last year, on gearbox stuff, and it seems a lot of people are really interested in them. But let's not forget that there was a feature, in fact it was on Bike Radar, and Jack Luke, the journalist there, he's the one that sort of dug out that patent first and wrote about it, about that Shimano gearbox patent. Now that says a lot, doesn't it, that Shimano are developing things like this. But again, they're not going to just release it until it's absolutely nailed. And looking at those patent drawings that they discovered there on Bike Radar first, the cool thing about them is the system already looks like an e-motor to me, and it would make perfect sense to combine the two features to sort of just put it straight out there. It just seems like the perfect thing to do, using the e-bike world to help develop stuff for the better world that we do, you know, the real pedaling stuff. But I just think there's some really awesome stuff coming in terms of gearboxes. And also, going along with that, I reckon you might see automatic shifting as well. Yeah, I know, it sounds a bit weird, doesn't it, you know, changing gear by yourself, but look at what Flight Attendant does, look what Live Valve does. I feel like automatic shifting will happen in the off-road world, and I think that you're going to be able to tune it to the way that you want to ride the bike. It will probably be based around RPM and the way that you pedal, and then let's face it, there's going to be some other cool stuff going on, because it's not just like a car where it just senses the engine RPM and then changes. There's going to be load going in, the torque that you put in via cadence sensors, stuff like that. I reckon it's going to happen, and I reckon it will actually be really, really good for a lot of people. Now, gears are something to an amateur rider or a novice that they can be quite tricky to grasp, especially given the fact that bikes like e-bikes are getting people out on the trails that might not have had the experience of getting to know bikes completely beforehand. If you can make that experience really easy for a lot of people, hey, it's going to bring more money into the sport. So devil's advocate there, like that could be a good thing, but also you could end up with people getting out onto trails that don't necessarily have the ability to ride those trails because they've now got an e-bike with automatic gears to help get them there. However, I'm all about technology, and I reckon automatic gears could be coming, but as long as those wireless brakes stay long away. Okay, so shows and events. Now, traveling is one of my favourite parts of the job. It always has been. Getting to see industry friends all over the world. Well, they're my contacts. They're the people I get the information from, and they're people that tell me everything about the latest stuff that's going on. And there's a whole bunch of cool places to go. Now, we missed out on Sea Otter for the last 2 years. I really hope we can go this year. It was amazing to have Annika reporting for us last year, and who knows, she might be doing it again this year. We really don't know. But I really want to be there. I feel like I need to go there. It's kind of like the homecoming for GMBN Tech. It's like the start of the year. It's always early April, so 7th to 10th of April. It's a brilliant show. Anyone can go, by the way. You know, it's not a trade show exclusively. There's races going on. There's the exhibition. There's demos. There's all sorts of stuff. It's a great sort of weekender style family festival, I guess you'd call it. But it's amazing. But before it, I like to call it pre-Otter. In the days running up to it, bearing in mind that we'll fly into San Francisco usually, and we'll drive down to Monterey where the event is held. It involves going through Santa Cruz. And Santa Cruz, as you probably know, houses in and around the area. There's a lot of the bike industry there. You've got Specialized there at Morgan Hill, you've got Giro Bell Sport, you've got Ibis Bikes, you've got Santa Cruz Bikes. There's loads of companies in that area, and I really want to go and see them all. But the problem is, just before Sea Otter, they're already so busy getting ready for Sea Otter. It's not always worked out that way. But last time I did go to Sea Otter, Ibis were all hanging around, and actually went and borrowed a bike and just went for a ride with them, and that was brilliant. So I'm really keen to do that, because there's definitely some great stories and some great stuff we can pick up for future shows and videos on tech. What else? GMBN Tech Road Trip. Wanted to do this last year. It just never happened because of the sheer problems with managing our creators and our filming schedule with COVID and other restrictions. So please let it happen this year. I think it'll probably have to be split into 3 parts, maybe 4. So you can do like Scotland, North England, South England, whatever, Wales. We'll figure it out, an Ireland as well, of course. There's loads of cool tech around to see, loads of different brands, and eventually I'd like to kind of do that in Europe as well, and maybe in America, but that's like grand things for, we need far more presenters to be able to do that. EWS, of course. So the calendar has already changed, but the confirmed rounds we've got Scotland, Slovenia, Italy, Canada, 2 rounds in the States, I believe, Switzerland and France. So there's loads. I mean, I'd quite like to go back to Canazei again, because that Queen stage was just, well, it's one of the coolest trails I've ridden in a long time. Maybe I just loved it though, because I hadn't ridden in the Alps for such a long time and done anything because of lockdown, that I just really appreciated it. But it was mind-blowingly good, and I'd love to ride it on a slightly longer travel, more capable bike. The Spectral was great, but with that little air shock on it, it was just on the edge of being out of its comfort zone there. But hey, it was amazing, and we got to see some great tech as well. So at least the first few rounds is going to be really important for GMBN Tech to get to, because of the fact that's where you're going to see people on new bikes, prototype bikes, new teams. Of course, we've seen that Martin Mays has already switched over to all-Bayer bikes, so there's going to be loads of other characters that are moving around in the sport. So exciting stuff. And then of course there's the World Cup. The World Cup brings its own different challenges in getting to and covering them, because you've got France, Brazil, Germany, Czech Republic, Fort William, Scotland that is, Austria and Lenzerheide in Switzerland. So there's loads of different options around there. I'd love to get to a few of those. Nova Mesto really impressed me on the cross-country terms when I went out before. The course was amazing, and the crowd, I've never seen anything like it in cross-country. Really cool. But perhaps it'd be good to go to some rounds that I've not been to before. But we'll figure that out nearer the time. I do seem to remember that there's a video I've got to make, sort of a day in the life of a mechanic. I wonder if I get a choice where I can do that. Brazil would be pretty good, wouldn't it? Okay. I said that. There's also Andorra, USA, Canada, another one in France, and Italy as well. I missed off the list. There's loads. It's insane. But but for me it's all about XC actually this year. XCO and XCC is what I really want to see. You know, the racing for me just really interests me. I love the physicality of it. It's not to undermine downhill. Downhill will always be that sort of F1 style flagship image of the sport, but XC is like, that's the one. Now in the UK we've got Ard Rock Enduro, there's Ardmore's Enduro, and of course there's a Malvern Hills Classic as well. I went to Malvern's last year, it's just up the road from us, so I'm going again, DJ again, take some photos, ride some bikes. Didn't really get a chance to ride much last year, so hopefully I will do this year. And then Eurobike, so it's the 30th edition of Eurobike. 30 years that show has been going for, and it's the biggest, it's the best, although I've got to say, it was really sad last year. It felt like the remaining part of the industry had kind of abandoned it a bit. I know it's because of COVID and different times, but it just felt like for the last show, everyone could have sort of given it a bit more. So hopefully for this 30th show, new location, I think it might be really good. It's Munich, I believe, isn't it? Have I got that right? Probably got it wrong. But either way, 30th show, it's going to be a banger. It's got to be. It's Eurobike. And Taipei, I obviously never got to go there either. So there was a few other videos we were supposed to make. In fact, visiting Suntour was one of them. They were going to let us into one of their factories, which I'd love to see. So I really hope that we're allowed to travel and those sort of videos are possible again, because obviously I want to go to Taipei show as well, see all the crazy tech, and maybe pick up some unnamed crazy bike stuff and bring it back. Who knows? Well, okay, that's pretty much the end of this week's show, but I think I definitely want to try some new things this year. I mean, new things to me. Now, the gravel biking thing I hinted at last year when I made that sort of mock video, but really, I am interested in it. I do want to try a proper gravel bike on both off-road, as in like proper off-road, and on gravel style fire roads, bridleways, whatever you call them. And I reckon I'd probably quite like it, but I also want to try bike packing. Now, I'm not suggesting I do it on a gravel bike. I like the idea of doing it on a mountain bike and actually getting out in the sticks a bit more. I love camping, especially under the stars. Like, I can't believe I've not been bike packing yet. And there's so much cool tech to go along with that. You know, traveling the lightest, the good gear. I love all my gear. So there's definitely be some bike packing stuff coming up on the channel. And also, we have some really big news coming up. So keep your eyes open for that on GMBN Tech soon, and I'll see you in next week's show. Give us a love in the comments, see you later, and thank you for watching, and once more, Happy New Year.